How is it going, everyone? It is Sean, or the Armchair Coach, and today we are back on NBA 2K26, and I am excited to be here today. We are on Season 2 of letting the Chaos Wheel decide how we build our franchise, and we are still in search of our first championship. Last season, we started with a young core of Scotty Barnes and Brandon Miller that we promptly had to trade away half of to the Denver Nuggets, who, funnily enough, we have to play twice to start this year. So that'll be very interesting. I'll be interested to see what their lineup looks like. In fact, let's take a look. So they've got a lineup of Jared McCain, Isaiah Joe, Moses Moody. So they're starting Chet and Cat. So I wonder if they let Scotty walk in free agency, or maybe Scotty's actually on the bench on that roster now. Hold on. Let us take a look. Nope, he's still there. So Scotty's coming off the bench. You know, I don't want to do my rivals a favor, but you would think that they would be starting Scotty at the small forward at that point with Chet and Cat in your front court, but I'm going to help them out there. This lineup is insane. I would hate to face them with anybody, especially considering our lineup is rookie Darius Acuff. We got Brandon Miller, Bryce Sensabaugh playing the 3 still, Peyton Watson at the 4, and Zach Edey at the 5. We had to make a couple of crazy moves. We put together a little bit of an unction in the locker room last year. We ended up having to trade for 32-year-old Dennis Schroeder, who's still on the roster, and I think Brook Lopez walked in free agency, but he was also on the roster at 38 years old. Had a little bit of an unction going. We've made some pretty decent moves, I think, to set us up with a nice team if we can keep it together. And that's going to be tough. So if you weren't here for our first video, I'd highly recommend checking that out. But over here on our other screen, we have the Chaos Wheel. Well, I've got 5 Chaos Wheels, actually. So you can see here we've got our wheel for the amount of games we will have in between each spin. So we've got 1, 3, 5, 7, 10, 12, 15, 18, 20, 25. We've got our yes-no wheel for our moves in the free agency, determining whether or not we can make the move for the big guy pants. Anyway, we also have our draft day Chaos Wheel. So we've added a few new effects since our last video. I've done some brainstorming since then. So we've added a few new picks. I'm not going to spoil them. Hopefully we'll roll them. Right now we're still only rolling for 1 pick per draft. We might up it to 2 if we get enough effects or enough chaos on the wheel. But right now the wheel's still pretty small, so I think 1 per draft is alright. But quite a few options there for some decent chaos. And then we have our in-season chaos wheel here. So here we have the wheel that decides what we're going to do up until the trade deadline. Now, I've added, once again, a couple new effects here. And I think at some point, once I have enough effects that don't involve making trades, we'll go ahead and what am I saying? I'm saying this is what I get for trying to wake up a little bit earlier, so I could maybe squeeze 2 videos in today. Hint, hint. But we are going to try and separate the 2 wheels so we can have a after the trade deadline wheel and a just a trade deadline or trade wheel for the season. But I have to have enough effects for just affecting how the team plays on the court together and before I can think about doing that. So for now, they're all together on 1 wheel still. I'm also contemplating an even more chaotic series. We're going to bump the trade frequency up to 100, the difficulty up to 100, and I've got a couple more ideas for that video, but that's a wait-and-see approach. So for today, it is time for us to jump into Season 2. How will the Chaos Wheel be affecting our team this year? So just like we did last year, before we even play a game with the team, we are going to be rolling the chaos wheel. So, without further ado, let's spin her over for the first time and get this, whatever that pop-up was, out of here. Okay, we're trading for a team's something worst contract. There are so many options on the chaos wheel that just don't fit on like the wheel itself, so you don't know what the effect is until it actually pops up there. So I was really hoping we were going to get like trade for a team's best player. Nope. Because why would it be positive for us? Okay, so we are going to be looking for the worst contract on a team. So let's go ahead and spin our team wheel and see which team we will be making that deal with. And we are going to be looking at the Washington Wizards. So we made a deal with the Wizards last year. I can't remember exactly what it was. Actually, I think it was us getting Brooke Lopez, because I think that was our audible after we were not able to get Jason Tatum from the Bucks because they just did not want to give him up. So let's take a look now at the roster. All right, so we are looking at the Wizards roster here. And oh, man, why? Why is it always so easy? Why is it always so easy to identify the bad things? So, Freddie VanVleet, who's currently 32 years old and 77 overall with a $25 million a year deal, is, I think, by far the most clear option for us. So that's a lot of money for us to have to try to acquire. However, I have an idea. Okay, so they want to do a pick swap if I throw in Dennis Schroeder. I don't hate that idea, per se. I mean, we have a first-round pick from the Spurs. We don't even have our first-round pick this year. Did I trade? Who did I trade that to? Hold on. Let me see who that pick belongs to real quick. Oh, well, that didn't take long. It's the Celtic, or the Hawks. The Hawks own our pick this year. What? Why can't I feel like I feel like I might have given it to him unprotected. Oh, that's right. We couldn't even put protections on it, which sucked whenever we made the deal. I can't remember what deal we had made. All right, so gotta get Freddie back on here. And then I am willing to throw you a couple seconds. So they want the Raptors' first-round pick from 2029, but they'll give us back a 29 first. I'll tell you what. Because there's no way they're willing to give up a first as well. But I'll throw... They really want that Toronto pick. They are, like, obsessed with that Toronto pick. Do they know something about what's a tragedy that's going to happen in Toronto in 2029? Is the whole basketball team going to die and that's, like, a guaranteed number one pick? I can't think of any other reason why you guys would be so obsessed with it. This shouldn't turn into like a blockbuster trade. We shouldn't be doing all this to swap Dennis Schroeder for Fred VanVleet. Like this trade that I'm doing right now should not have taken. I'm 10 minutes into recording already. It should not have taken me the last 5 to make a trade for Freddie Van here. Like, holy jeez, guys. Like, who do you want? Who can we, like, just afford to give away for free? Like, you guys want Bruce Brown? Okay, we just signed him, so we can't trade him away. That's a crazy look. All right. Can I get you guys to give up? Whew, okay. All right, guys. Hear me out here. All right. They're asking for Bryce Sensabaugh, but they're going to give us 2 firsts in return. Like, this Wizards team this year, I mean, Shea, Lowry, and Jabari Smith Jr. and Trey Johnson. Oh, shout out Wizard in real life. I've done some brainstorming. Acquiring a pick in this draft is important. We need to have at least one. Like, I need to be able to make a pick this year, or at least have draft capital to use. So I've got a plan, and I'm going to need you guys to hear me out. Wait, I didn't mean to add Josh Hart to that. Oopsie. I was like, why didn't that trade go through? That's what they offered. So we are going to take this deal. We're going to give them the Raptors pick. We're going to give them Sensabaugh and Dennis Schroeder. We're going to acquire Fred VanVleet and Royce O'Neal. I'm ecstatic about that, let me tell you. But we're also getting 2 picks in return. What do you... This is the trade you just offered. Hold on. And that was the trade you offered me. Okay. Yeah, I think sometimes, like, the CPU will... Like, I made another offer by accident, so then it just, like, takes away their counter offer that they made before. A little bit buggy, but we do get the trade to go through. So, chaos complete. That took a little bit longer than I had hoped for, but it is done now. So I understand that at face value it might seem like we got worse, but I think in the long run it's going to be some addition by subtraction here. Because let me adjust the lineup and then we'll talk. Okay, so had to finagle the roster, had to do some swapping and moving around, but we have fixed up the roster. So as you can see, Darius Acuff still going to play point guard for us. We're going to have Brandon Miller at the shooting guard, but we're going to have Benedict Mathurin come in and play small forward now. Now that we've gotten rid of Bryce Sensabaugh, we can have him come in and play small forward. Peyton Watson at the 4, Zach Edey at the 5. And then Marvin Bagley, Cam Johnson, Jay Huff, and Yaxel Lendeberg off our bench. And I also moved Yaxel over to small forward, so maybe at some point he can step up in the next season or 2 and take over that small forward spot. But without further ado now, we can go back over to the wheels and see how many games until we have to do something else crazy to the roster. All right. We had a lot of very short intervals between things last time. I added a few new number options, but still, somehow we're only going to end up with 3. So we're going to sim 3 games and then see what we have to do next. 3 games. Let's see how it goes. And Darius Acuff gets hurt immediately. That's lovely. Let me fix that real quick. All right. So looks like Fred VanVleet is going to end up getting some minutes. He was getting 0 minutes after we traded for his truly abysmal contract. So at least we're getting some value. Man, tell you what, old washed player wearing number 8. Who does that remind me of? Any Celtics fans want to tell me? Anywho, hopefully it's not that long. It says he's only going to be out for 2 weeks. But either way, we still have one more game to sim, and we are still not winning games. You know what I want to do? Let's go ahead and focus. I like to get our coaching adjustments in this fashion. So we will have. I'd like for us to play through the star, aka Brandon Miller. We'll let him or our guys have the green light on offense. Definitely want to crash the boards, play physical defense, and crash the boards on the defensive side of the ball as well. Hopefully those adjustments help us out when we're playing on the floor together. I mean, I do feel like the team's got potential. We just have to be able to put it together. So 3 games complete now. It is time for us to spin the wheel once again. So what will the wheel have to say about our team now? What will we have to do? Is it going to be are we going to have to trade for another awful contract? Is that what it is? No, we're trading for a team's worst player now. Okay, well, of all the things on the list, that one actually I think hurts us the least. We can just swap 2 awful players on our roster and then call it a day. So let's take a look at who we have to, what trash we got to swap. We got to look at the Clippers here. So let's take a look at their roster and see what we're going to end up doing. Okay, so we are looking at the Clippers now. Let's take a look down at the very bottom, and it looks like the worst player on their roster is, I think, probably an auto-generated rookie that they just drafted. So we're going to throw Martin McKinney in there, and then who's down here at the bottom of our roster? Oh, technically right now it's Darius Acuff. I mean, you guys want Royce O'Neal? No, you guys can't afford to take on Royce O'Neal. You guys want a second? Oh, okay, so we have to make a player trade. I mean, you guys want, like, okay. I think we're gonna have to definitely turn off the recently traded restriction too for the sake of this. Otherwise, we're gonna end up running into, I think, a lot of issues just down the line. So let me fix that real quick. We can't make that trade. Wow. We can't make that trade because they're taking on $375K more than they can take on. Like, the Clippers are not doing great money-wise. Okay, maybe we come up one and their second worst player in this case, since we can't make the money work per se, and we go with this trade. I mean, we have 2 small forwards, even if we trade him away. So I think we definitely want to do that. And we take on like just a little bit of extra salary. They don't want to do that. Okay. Does this guy have like crazy potential or something? No, C- potential. Okay. I want you guys to know I don't have the trade difficulty up particularly hard, so I don't know why they're being such a hard ass about this trade. I didn't think this would be hard, but why is it turning out to be that way? Am I gonna have to like spin the wheel again? Because the Clippers are just in really bad shape financially. Because like they're giving $40 million to Brandon Ingram, $39 million to Desmond Bane, and then $23 million to Nick Claxton, and then some really bad contracts on their roster. Like really bad. Holy cow! Like you're paying Aaron Wiggins $10 million. You're paying D. Russ 6. You're paying Patrick Williams 18. DeRozan 25. DiVincenzo 12. Wendell Carter 18. And then your top 3. Yeah, that's a lot of money you're committing to. Like, this roster is not very good. So unfortunately, I'm going to just quickly spin the wheel again off screen here, and whatever team it lands on is what we're going to end up going. I'm sure you can hear the wheel spinning off screen. It is going to be the New York Knicks that we try to make a trade with. Yeah, I did not expect that to end up being such a difficult thing. So it looks like the guy that we can trade for here is Stan Brooks Jr. And I mean, what can we do? Can we get them to take Royce O'Neal? No, they're not doing great financially. So maybe we just go with Bruce Brown, and I think this will just get accepted straight up. So maybe we try to get them to throw a first in too, since we're giving up so much value. There's no way. There's no way these guys are coming after this pick again. Throw in a second. Wow. I don't know. We need picks that are closer to where we are. So, you know what? Just give me all the second round picks that you guys have got for this year. Maybe 2 of them? 1 of them? Just straight up? Oh, wow. Okay. So, are we going to have to give up, like, a second to make this happen? Yeah. Okay. So, Bruce Brown in a second gets us a significantly worse player overall. I'm not going to think about that too much. But, once again, chaos complete. What's the time on the recording right now? We are at almost half an hour already. And that's been 3 games. Just trying to trade. I thought both of those trades would not take us very long. But maybe I'm just overanalyzing and trying too hard. But anyway, it's time to roll the wheel once again. Let's see how many games we'll have before the next thing that'll probably take us way longer than it should. Okay, so we are back on the wheel now. Let's see how many games we've got until the next time we've got to do something. Oh, it looks like we're going to get a little bit of breathing room. So 15 games until the next time we've got to spin. So I'm going to count that out really quickly, and then we'll talk again. So we're back. My apologies. I accidentally forgot to flip my screen back over to the gameplay screen. So we accidentally missed the actual sim portion, but nothing too crazy happened. Fred VanVleet got himself injured right away, but Darius Acuff had also just gotten off of injury, so we were just fine there. We swapped their minutes, and as you can see, we went 7-11 through the first month of the season. We played pretty well. We had a couple of good games. This game against the Wizards was a particularly strong one for us, where we had 3 of our big guys put up 20 points each. So the team's got potential, I think. We've got some chemistry building. We're up to 58% team chemistry. I think we just have to keep putting games together. But that's going to be hard to do because it is now time to spin the wheel once again. So we're going to go back over to the Chaos Wheel and see what's going to happen. It's time to spin the wheel, folks. What will happen today? Is it going to be... Oh. So we've got to execute a 3-team trade. So I put that on there to kind of challenge myself in a way, because 3-team trades are not something I have done a ton of. Okay, so we are on the trade screen now, and we are attempting, I think, a salary dump. I mean, it's not really a salary dump because Sam Hauser's making the same money, but I think we're getting better talent with Sam Hauser than Royce O'Neal. And in order to make the 3-team trade portion of this work, we're going to start throwing around some second-round picks. I'm not too experienced with this, so I don't want to go too crazy off the bat. But I don't have any seconds to play with. So let's just let's see. So the Kings don't feel like they're getting back enough for what they give up. So the Kings are happy with that, but the Sixers want something. So, and all of a sudden they're not interested in the trade? Okay, well, I thought we were close, but it's back to the drawing board. Hold on. We're definitely trying to get rid of this Royce O'Neal contract. So give me a second. We're going to find something here. Okay. Before I put this deal out there, this is what it looks like. We got Royce O'Neal, Stan Brooks, and a future first going out the door to acquire some mid-talent, Dante Exum, and some random generated guy. Had to throw some picks in there to make it work for the other teams. Maybe this goes through. And all of a sudden, neither team is interested. Before, the Grizzlies were fine with it. But now nobody's happy. I wish I could, get a three team trade finder going. But anyway, let's back to the drawing board. Let me see what I can find again. Got another trade lined up here. This one would net us a first-round pick for Royce O'Neal and the auto-generated guy we had to trade for. And all Philly has to do to be a part of it is throw a second-round pick to the Heat. I have a feeling they're going to whine about it, but let's see. Oh! Okay, so that goes through. Very nice. So we are able to acquire a first-round pick, get off of some of the bad contracts we don't like, which is good. We like that. So I don't think we have to adjust the roster at all after doing that. So actually, I feel like that was almost the least challenging thing we had to do today, and I actually feel like it benefited us the most. We got off of some bad money and gave ourselves a little bit more future draft capital to play with. So let's go ahead and spin the wheel again and see how long until we do something else. It's time to spin the number wheel. How long until I'm tortured again? Looks like we are not going to have very long, as it looks to be 7 games until our next wheel spin. So, okay, roster fixed. So like I said, we are going to go ahead and sim right through. Fred VanVleet's healed. He's not playing anyway, don't matter. Time for us to do some scouting. I'm going to go ahead and fill these out. Give me just a second. Okay, so we are almost 500 here as we reach the next spin point. Doing pretty decent, I would say. Not a bad start to the season. With that being said, it's time to see how our team might get unraveled once again. Haven't had too many, awful situations come up so far. Are we trading a young player for an Unk again? Man, I added a bunch of new effects, and we're seeing a little bit of a repetition here. So, okay, it looks like we're going back to the well and making another Unction happen here. So let me take a... Oh, wait. Which Unk are we going to acquire? That's right. We got to see which team we're getting an Unk from. So the New York Knicks, the team we had traded for earlier this year, or traded with earlier this year. So let's take a look at what you've got. I mean, theoretically, Kevin Durant is an Unk. He's 38 years old. Who do we give away? We said 25 and under is a young player. I could trade away this guy that we just signed. He's 21. And probably get Bruce Brown back. Maybe. Let's see. Money works. They don't like it because of the money or because of the value, I guess. You guys mind if I do something drastic, maybe? I'm trying, guys. I promise you, I'm putting some effort into it here. I don't think we've got nearly enough to make them interested. But maybe I am willing to throw one more first round pick into this deal. If this doesn't get us Kevin Durant, we're going to have to we're just going to have to try a different deal. And they are still not interested. Okay, well, it was a fun brain concept for a second. You know what? This Bobby Portis Jr. trade intrigues me. Is there a world where we can pull that trade off? With like I mean, I don't have anything. I don't have anybody that I think would make... Like, the problem with the Unks on their squad is it's just... They don't have too many of them. Like, I mean, Max Strus is 30. You know what? Maybe... Let's go for Max Strus. I think that might be attainable. They can dump a bunch of money and give us Max Strus, and we'll give them a young player. So if they're countering, they want Marvin Bagley, and they'll give us Bryce McGowens. I tried to add a couple of different offers in there. I don't think they're going to take anything other than this deal. Like, I kind of hate it because we're taking on Max Strus's contract, which is like huge. And I mean, he is about to be a free agent, so we can just let him walk. So we're essentially just renting him for a season. But we are making ourselves a little bit worse at center, because we will not have a quality center coming off the bench. But we have not that much of a choice. We got to make this trade. So, now they want... Oh. Well, this works out. Okay, I'll take that deal. So that deal ends up becoming a little bit more hefty than I had imagined in the first place, but I don't think it's the worst deal we could have made in that situation. Definitely not the deal I would have loved to make, but stuff happens. So we're going to adjust the roster now if we need to and see what we've got to spin next. All right, so we've adjusted the roster and the minutes. As you can see, everything's set. So we've got Jay Huff back over playing center now instead of power forward. Now that we've got a little bit more talent in the power forward room, he can go back to being a center for us, and that's fine. So the minutes work out pretty well here. Max Strus does earn 12 minutes off our bench, so he will contribute, which is nice. And then Sandro Mamukelashvili, I really probably am butchering that, is not going to earn any minutes, but he's right there as the 10th man if we need to throw him some minutes. So it is now time to spin the wheel. What type of break are we looking at from Chaos now? Surely we get a long break, right? Well, it's looking like it's going to be somewhat long, as 10 games are going to pass between now and our next spin. So let me go ahead and sim that through. Okay. So our next sim target here is this Heat game, and I'm hoping that the next time we're talking, we're above 500. So let's see how it unfolds. We've been rattling off quite a few wins. The team is starting to play really well together. So I've got some hope. We just have to kind of match the potential I think the team has got as a whole, as we are now at 17. We are now at the next sim point, and we are 17-18. However, if you look at the team chemistry, the team is meshing incredibly. I'm interested to take a look here at the stats so far through the season and see how everyone's performing. And I think the story tells itself. Darius Acuff averaging 19 points so far as a rookie. Brandon Miller definitely leading the way as far as our scoring goes. But I think we've got a lot of really solid contributors who are putting up a lot of points. As you can see, we've got like 3 or 4 guys or 5 guys even who are averaging 7 or 8 points off the bench. So a lot of quality contributors. And I think if we can continue to put it together, we might even sneak into the playoffs this year. Wouldn't that be something? I'd love to see some chaos playoff basketball. So without further ado, so next spin. We've had some pretty crazy things so far. Oh, is it? Okay. So we have to trade a random player. And so what that means is I have to... I didn't put it together ahead of time. I should have done that. But part of it is it's kind of hard to do that ahead of time when our roster is constantly changing. But I'm going to put together a wheel really quickly of our current roster, and we are going to spin it to see what player we are going to trade away. And then I think from there we'll just go with a trade finder deal and see what we can make happen, since the pain is having to trade away whoever the wheel lands on. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and put that wheel together just lickety split, and I will be with you in just a second. Okay, so we are on the wheel that I just put together for our team, and every single player on our roster is now on it. So, nerve-wracking times now. Whoever this wheel lands on is who we are trading away. So, without further ado, oh man, if it lands on one of my rookies, I'm going to be crushed. And, okay, so that is about as good of a player as it could have landed on. I'll show you why here in just a second. So looking at our roster now, you can see that AJ Lawson is literally the worst player on our roster. That doesn't mean he's bad at basketball by any means, but I mean, he might be. But he is the worst on our roster. So of all the players that to have to trade away, that is probably the most ideal one. So let's see what kind of offers he'll generate, if any, and we'll pick something that suits us. So give me just a second, and I'll be back with an offer. Okay, so I settled on an interesting offer here. AJ Lawson here for a first-round pick, but it's our own first-round pick that we put swap rights on with the Spurs. But we have the other set of swap rights. So essentially, we would just own both picks. That's an interesting offer. The only other offer I came across in here that was of interest to me was maybe just swapping him for Luke Kennard straight up, getting some more shooting off of our bench. But I can't really decide. I feel like, I mean, Luke Kennard probably wouldn't get that many minutes, but in like the few situations where he's stepping in, he's a sharpshooter. So we can really use that kind of sharpshooter off our bench, like the Kyle Korver role. But once again, more trade assets is more trade assets. So I think I have to go with my gut here and stick with the trade assets. So chaos complete. And now it's time to spin and see what it's going to be next time. So how many games of rest do I get before I have to blow my brain up again trying to make another move? So we land on 18 games, and that might take us close to the trade deadline here. So let me count that out, and I'll reconvene with you guys. All right, so I might have made a small oopsie again and forgotten to switch my screens. It's the first time I'm recording using OBS, and the reason for that being I realized in my first couple videos, and I apologize for this, it won't happen again now that I've realized, I have an ultra-wide monitor as my primary monitor, and unbeknownst to me as a new person to content creation, when you record something in 21:9 aspect ratio, it
kind of gets smashed when you try to upload it to YouTube, because YouTube is still only allowing videos in 16.9 or 16 by 9 ratio. So I apologize for the letterboxing on the first couple of videos. I've made the fix to it now, so hopefully that won't be a thing in the future. But I'm using OBS now because it helps me kind of keep track of things better, and I use it for my streaming. But anyway, long story short, forgot to switch over screens. So we simmed 18 games and reached the trade deadline. And I realized that the amount of games that it chose for us to sim would take us past the deadline, and I decided that as a future rule, we are going to make it so if I reach the deadline before the Chaos Wheel is ready for me to, or before we reach the end of the game wheel. Man, why am I really struggling to find the right way to say that? If we reach the trade deadline before the amount of games that we spend on the wheels has passed, we will still make another spin regardless. And that will be a rule for all future Chaos Wheel videos. There it is. Perfect way to say that. Maybe I'll get it right the first time next time. But with that being said, it's time for us to spin the wheel one last time. What is the last thing we are going to do on the Chaos Wheel this season? There's no way. So we've got to trade away our draft pick this year. So we made all this talk about wanting to acquire draft capital, and the last thing we're going to do before we are done with the trade deadline is have to trade away the draft pick. We just acquired this season, by the way. So I'm curious to see. I am intensely curious to see how the Wizards are doing in the standings. Let's take a look. Oh, so they're struggling. I wouldn't have expected that from a team with Shea at the helm. But they are... Oh, this is last year. Wait. Oh, last year's standings. Why am I so stupid? Guys, I'm stupid. Anyway, this year's standings. So, wow. Oh. Guys, no. No, guys. They're the worst team in the East. They're the worst team in the East. No. Guys, no. This is awful. This is the worst news. You couldn't have asked it to be worse. Okay. Oh, this isn't bad. We have to trade away our draft pick. I think we should spin the wheel and see which team it's going to. Who is going to get this insane pick from the Wizards? Oh, we're looking at the Grizzlies. All right, so we've got to trade this pick to the Grizzlies. And we got to acquire something pretty significant in return, I think. So with that being said, let's go take a look at their roster and see what we can produce. Okay, so just based off of a cursory look here, Tyrese Maxey's their best player, and then they have Jalen Duren. We have a pick that is extremely valuable. So maybe I turn my pick into 2 picks and we try to get ourselves a player as well.
Who do they have at power forward? They have Cam Boozer. Okay, we can't make that work because of the money. But if we throw in like Max Strus in return, does that make... Okay, so that makes the money work. So trading away our draft might end up turning this into a little bit of a blockbuster. Acquiring Cam Boozer, I think, would be huge. Insane, even. I don't think this is going to go through. Yeah, Cam Boozer's kind of untouchable for them. I had a feeling that was going to be the case. We just try to get a bunch of picks back for this pick and see what we can do. Okay. So I'm so bad at this. So I can never tell whether swap worst writes if we want the swap worst or if we want the swap best. I think we want the swap worst or the swap best. So, once again, I tried to make a couple of different things work, and it's just not going to happen. So it is what it is. Stuff like this happens. You can't get too mad about it when it just doesn't go our way. So we're going to go ahead and accept this deal. I don't know why I keep almost hitting deny. So blockbuster trade a little bit at the deadline for us. We end up acquiring Dante Exum, which I don't care about in the slightest, and we do lose Jay Huff in the process. Man, we keep making ourselves thin at center, and I hate that. Like, what am I gonna have to sign Zach Collins now? Not edit Zach Collins. It should be the second option, not the third. So bring Zach Collins in on a minimum. And let him play some backup center. I mean, he's not going to get any sort of minutes, but going to fix the roster real quick because I do think I have to change the minutes, so give me just a minute. Okay, minutes finally fixed, which means that it is now time for us to sim through the rest of this season. Are we going to be able to make the playoffs? We're 22-27 at the deadline. It's been an interesting season. I do feel like we are in a pretty good place overall. Once again, I think we just have to continue to get more games on the floor together and play up to our potential. So we're going to keep simming and see what happens, and I'll meet you at the end of the season. Okay, well, I lied. We're actually going to meet at the contract extension deadline. We did not land on the spot that says we can't make contract extensions this year, so we're going to go ahead and get that out of the way. Cam Johnson, who's making $23 million, will take a minimum to come back, but so would Max Strus, I'm assuming. So it becomes, who do we want back more? And I want to almost say that we would probably do better off bringing Cam Johnson back on a one-year minimum. He's a little bit taller. He's a little bit more athletic. I think we can get a little bit more out of him than Max Strus. Anybody else need an extension? Dante Exum, yeah, I'm going to let you walk absolutely expeditiously. Fred VanVleet, happily letting him walk. So we will see... Now that we've gotten extensions out of the way, now I will see you all at the end of the season. Currently 25-34, so still got a long way to go if we're going to be a playoff team. Okay, so we are at the end of season recap. We'll talk about our performance here in just a second, but Wemby wins MVP. Who would have guessed? Averaging 28. Wow. Like, that's freaky. He was averaging exactly 28, exactly 13, and exactly 4. That is wild. He's also averaging a steal and a half and 3 blocks a game. That's a crazy year out of Wemby. Let's take a look at some of the other crazy performers from this year.
Jason Tatum, who only played 60 games, managed to put up 33. Cade doing Cade things, averaging 31, 6 and 7. LaMelo averaging 35 and 8. Ant averaging 34 and 5. Brunson 29, 2 and 7. Giannis 28, 10 and 5, or 28, 11 and 5 actually. So some pretty crazy performances in the points per game category. Zach Edey leading the league in rebounds per game. That's my guy right there, averaging 14 boards. It's exactly what you like to see. It's much better than he was last season too, I believe. Let's see, he only averaged, 11 boards per game. So I think our adjustment to have him crashing the boards more often really paid off. So, and who was leading the league in assists? Hallie, averaging 10.5 a game, followed closely by Jokic, who only played 60 games, but still averaged almost a triple-double. Just wild numbers from him. Luka also having a pretty good year, averaging 26, 6, and 9. So, taking a look at Rookie of the Year, it's going to be Cam Boozer, who's wearing 11 in this universe. See how the other rookies performed. Our guy Darius Acuff finished averaging 18, 2, and 7 a game. That's pretty good for a rookie. AJ DeMonson only only started 43 games this year and also was hurt, it looks like, for a good portion. Still averaged 16, 5, and 3, so a lot of potential there. And a lot of these other guys on the board didn't play too many minutes as rookies. So hopefully as we get further on into the sim, we start seeing them make more of an impact. Josh Giddey wins 6th Man of the Year again. Wemby, a Defensive Player of the Year again. Shaden Sharp wins Most Improved Player, really. Hold on, I pressed the wrong button there. Yeah, I would say going from 13 points a game to almost 20 points a game is a pretty solid jump for you. That's pretty good. And then Chris Finch wins Coach of the Year, and their GM wins Executive of the Year. And who do we got on all NBA teams? Cade, Luka, Cat, who averaged 27, 10, and 5 this year. Crazy numbers. Got Trey Young, Jalen Brunson, LaMelo Ball, Paolo, and Brandon Miller on the All-NBA second team. So Brandon Miller continuing to almost be on that first tier of players for us. And then third team is Diaper Booty, Sengun, Jamal Murray, Jalen Johnson, Anthony Davis, and John Morant. The usual suspects being on all defensive teams. Zach Edey makes an all-defensive team, averaging a block and a half a game. Is pretty good for him. And Walker Kessler also makes an all-NBA team, averaging 2.5 blocks a game. Pretty solid. And then our boy Darius Acuff makes all-rookie first, and Yaxel Lendeberg makes all-NBA or all-rookie second. So a good season overall. We're not going to make the play-in again, and that's fine. And we're going to go ahead and sim the first round, and we'll hop in for any playoff action or any Game 7 action we see in these next couple rounds. But it has truly been a building year for us. We didn't have to demolish our roster too much like we had to last year. So I think we ended up in a pretty good spot. We ended up winning. Sorry, I know I haven't talked about it yet. But looking at the standings, we ended up finishing just outside the play-in at 34 and 48. So the pick we traded away actually might end up benefiting us pretty well. Let me see how the Grizzlies did in their conference. So the Grizzlies are only in the play-in, and so are the Lakers. So both of the picks we're getting this year from them won't be too highly touted. But it's nice to know that the Wizards pick will also probably not be too crazy either. Anywho, so we finished just outside the play-in, but we definitely had a much better season overall. I mean, looking at our player stats as a whole, we can see that Benedict Mathurin, starting at small forward, actually kind of was a real benefit for us. Acuff averaged 17. Peyton Watson jumped down, I guess, to 13 points a game. And like I said, we had a lot of really strong bench performers and bench contributors this year. So, all things considered, I think we really had a better season, which is good. I know it's going to take us a few seasons, I think, to really reach the precipice of what we are able to achieve. We got a little bit more development that needs to happen. But for now, we got some playoff basketball that we get to watch. So we've got a Rockets and Warriors Game 7 here with a Rockets team of Dylan Harper, Cam Thomas, Rishashe, Cody Williams, and Nikola Jokic facing off against the Warriors led by Scoot, Jaylen Brown, Dyson Daniels, Wiggs, and Jared Allen. I think I remember that Warriors team last year being particularly tough. So let's jump into the Simcast and see if we have a close game down here at the finish line. It's a 7-point game with a minute and a half, 10 with, yeah, it looks like the Warriors are going to walk out with that one pretty comfortably. Over here on the Eastern Conference side, we have a Knicks versus Bucks matchup. The Knicks being led by Trae Young, KD, and the Bucks having, Jason Tatum, Jalen McDaniels, Alex Sarr, and Reed Shepherd on their squad. That's a pretty solid young team on the Bucks side. I would not be surprised if we're looking at a Bucks championship sooner than later. As we jump into the sim here, and yeah, they are blowing the Knicks out of the stadium. And it is now time for the conference finals. So that Nuggets team that I knew was going to be trouble is struggling against that Golden State squad. The Pistons dog walk the Bucks in 4. So that team of LaMelo, Anthony Davis, CJ McCollum, Mark Williams, oh yeah, Keldon Johnson, Andrew Nembhard. They've got a squad up there in Detroit. Anywho, so will we see a Game 7 on the Western Conference side? It does not look like it. So Scoot wins Western Conference MVP, and LaMelo wins Eastern Conference MVP for the playoffs. Those are some pretty crazy stats. LaMelo averaging 29, 7, and 10. I think that's just about exactly what you would want out of a player like that in these playoffs. So finals time is here. The Pistons, led by LaMelo Ball, Anthony Davis, Mark Williams, Dillon Brooks at small forward, and Keldon Johnson at the shooting guard, facing off against this Warrior squad led by Scoot and Jaylen Brown, and Jared Allen at the center. This should be a really intense finals. Hopefully we get a Game 7 so we can hop in and see what's doing. I mean, we might even hop into just this elimination game here, see if we have a close game at all. Oh, and it looks like it just might be a minute 54 to go with a championship on the line here. It's time for you guys to meet commentator Armchair. Let me tell you, I have been looking forward to commentating some games on this channel, and it is the perfect time to do that. And we're going to see what happens. So Iguodala is going to pass it into Jaylen Brown here. He's going to dribble at the top of the key. Looking around, he's going to cross over. He's kind of just taking his time, not setting up any offense. They're not looking for any screens. He's going to continue to play some hero ball pump, and he's going to take the tough layup and draw the foul from Keldon Johnson. So, interesting play from Jaylen Brown there. He looks just so wrong in a Warriors uniform. However, he is going to go to the free throw line for 2 free throws here. Key point of the game for the Warriors. I can't remember. I think, yeah, Detroit's up 3-2 in the series. So they need to win this game in order to stay in it. So a lot more on the line with these free throws than just winning the game here. So Brown's got to lock in and make the second. It's up, and it is off the rim. So a 1-point lead now. Anthony Davis is going to take it up the court. Pass out to the wing to Keldon Johnson. Who's going to put it up off the rim, but put back in by Clint Capella. Good board, good put back. So the Pistons are now going to have the lead as Brown gets the ball up the court. Dribbling on the wing. Is he going to play hero ball again? No, this time he's going to pass to Allen down low. Allen's going to dribble a little bit. Looks like they're trying to set up a play outside, but Allen's just going to put it up, and it is off the board and no good. Anthony Davis, once again, playing a little bit of point guard, brings it up and eventually passes to Nembhard, who's going to pass it down to Davis with the slam down low. The Pistons take a 3-point lead with a minute to go. Finals title on the line. Pistons at home would love to win it in front of the home crowd, and the Warriors would love to spoil it for everybody. Harris is going to pump, wait for the screen from Allen. Allen's going to roll to the basket, but nothing's doing. He does get the ball eventually after a bad jump from Capella, and he's going to put the layup in 1-point game again. Nembhard on the wing. He's going to look low for Davis, who's just going to get the ball and drive it right to the bucket. Bad time to try to get the steal there on defense. So Brown now has to navigate a 3-point lead. He's quite the 3-point shooter. Will they set something up for him to get a 3-point shot? Looks like we're just playing some more hero ball in Golden State. Jaylen Brown gonna just throw the ball away, and I think this game is just about over. We are going to see a Pistons championship for the first time in, I think, 50-plus years. Or actually, no. They won, I think, a championship in the 90s. But the Pistons have been in a drought for quite some time. The home fans are going to watch Dylan Brooks put in the first, and the second is up and good as well. With a 5-point game with 15 seconds left, it's not over, but it is looking bleak if you're a Warriors fan. They're going to pass out to Scoot. He's going to throw it up, and it is no good. And ladies and gentlemen, get the Gatorade Bass ready. Get the championship shirts printed. The newspapers ready to fly. The Detroit Pistons are going to walk in to the finals and win a championship on their home court for the first time in at least 20 or so years. The Warriors will throw up one last desperation shot, but it is not going to matter. The Detroit Pistons are NBA champions in 2027. So, Anthony Davis wins Finals MVP, and now we head into the offseason. So, let's take a look at our points allotment. We have 5 points we are able to spend. So, I think we upgrade our training facility for sure. And let's take a look at retirements. LeBron, Brooke Lopez, James Harden, C.J. McCollum, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dinwiddie, Fred VanVleet, Gary Payton II, Kevon Looney, a couple of other... Oh, wow. James Wiseman only plays 4 years and retires. So, very interesting season as LeBron and James Harden make the Hall of Fame. And, of course, James Harden and LeBron get their jerseys retired in quite a few different places. So, time to look at the draft lottery now. So, we have a chance to get... We have the 14th and 13th best odds in this draft. The Grizzlies end up with the 7th best odds from the pick that we trade away. So, 13 and 14 are not bad picks to end up with. I feel like we still do pretty good. We still did pretty good. Oh, we had the swap rights for these picks. So the Grizzlies actually don't get those rights. So we'll be getting whatever pick is higher, I believe. I believe that's how it works. So we might have a chance to get a pretty good pick here. We end up with a 13th pick as well. The Rockets are going to get the 9th pick. No surprises yet, says the lady in the draft. The Rockets end up with 9 and 8. Pretty good setup for them. And we do end up with the 7th pick. So the draft ends up being the Sixers, the Thunder, and the Hornets in the top 3. And then we have picks 7 and 13, which I would say that I'm pretty happy about. I feel like based off of what we had to do in order to get to this point, I think we ended up profiting pretty well. I think we can definitely do something with both of those picks, whether we're trading them, whether we're using them to acquire something. We'll just have to wait and see when we come to spin the draft chaos wheel here in just a minute. So it is now time for the NBA draft. And before we do that, it is time to spin the draft chaos wheel. So we've got to come over here. And we are on the draft chaos wheel. Whatever this wheel lands on, we have to do. Including trading away our entire draft. So there's quite a few options to what we might get stuck doing here. So let's see where we end up. Okay, so we have to execute a draft and trade. So this happens quite a lot in the NBA where you'll see a player get drafted and then their rights get traded somewhere else. So with one of the 2 picks that we make in this draft, we have to then use that pick to make a trade. Let's go ahead and hop into the draft and see what we're going to end up doing. In fact, actually, let's take a look at the scouting board. Looking at the talent, there's a few guys that look like they have A+ potential, but there's definitely a lot of guys like this guy right here is just going to be crazy out of the box, it looks like, and he's going to probably be the #1 pick. We'll see who's available on our pick. I mean, obviously we're going to use one of them to get ourselves a trade done, so let's just hop in and see what happens. The Sixers are going to draft the guy I just talked about, Murray O'Connor. Looks like he's going to be quite the player. Evan Townsend, I think the center that was A+ potential, goes #2. And Terrence Duncan goes 3. The Clippers take Ramon Santos at 4. Pacers take Manny Alvarado at 5. And Jonathan Floyd goes at 6. That's an interesting name. So, let's take a look at the roster of potential players we've got here. So, I see some guys with some decent potential. Maybe we take... I think I'm going to take Jaden Watson here. He's got A- potential, and he's a 74 overall. And then... let's see what we can get for him. Let's go to the trade and trade finder. And we'll see. Okay. So taking a look at the offers here for Jaden Watson, I'm not too ecstatic about them. So we're going to wait and see what we have at our next pick. And when we get to that pick, we'll pick between the 2 of them to take a deal. So looks like the Rockets are trading away their first pick to the Suns to acquire... or no, to a... okay, so they're trading Derek White to the Rockets. The Rockets are acquiring Derek White, and the 76ers are acquiring the 8th overall pick. And the 76ers are going to draft Roberto Barea, and then the Rockets on their next pick are going to take Nico Stojic, Blake Wilcox at 10, Gregory Peeler at 11. Another trade, Tobias Harris goes to the Jazz for the 12th pick, so the Warriors can draft Kirk Gaines. And now it's once again our turn. I'm going to take Luke Hudson here. I think both of those guys we've got have decent potential to develop, but I would definitely be fine trading one of them away, which is why I think I'm more fine trading away the shooting guard. So maybe we can get something decent in that sense. Okay, so we are looking at trading Luke Hudson, I think, to the Kings. And we'll get Colin Sexton back, who's not great, but he'll be a better backup point guard because Darius Acuff, I think, is going to develop pretty well this offseason. And then we can... we'll get a second-round pick back. Maybe we can see if we can convince them to throw a first in. No, they want us to throw in firsts. I'm not doing that. So we're just gonna... no. So we're gonna go ahead and then just take this Colin Sexton deal, and we'll get ourselves a quality backup point guard for the near future, and be pretty satisfied about that, I think. We do have another pick in this draft. It looks like we have a few offers for it. Yeah, no, I think I would rather just make a pick. So, anybody here that might be worth taking a stab at? A couple of guys that we barely have scouted down here. Like, I don't know how true the potential is when they're scouted this little, but let's take a look at their scouting report. Maybe all-star and bench, starter and bench, starter and bench. Let mean, maybe we go with Eduardo Chavez. Maybe he ends up becoming the all-star side of his comparisons. And with that ends our draft. So, I mean, holy cow. I mean, look at the depth of talent in this class was horrid. You had Murray O'Connor, who's like the clear-cut best guy, and then a bunch of guys who are probably going to take quite a bit to develop. So we ended up making one pick there, and we definitely take Edie's option, and we'll send out the qualifying to Brandon Miller. And then oh yeah, Colin Sexton's a shooting guard. I forgot about that. We're gonna move his position back to point guard, because then Brandon Miller will come back, and that's good. Peyton Watson walked in free agency. Am I fine with that? Not really? Okay. Unless there's someone super quality we can sign in free agency that's not 37-year-old Jimmy or 38-year-old KD. Well, you know, Michael Porter Jr. might not be a bad option here. He's not expecting that much. How interested are you if I throw you that deal, MPJ? Oh, wait, it's the... So he's got 100% interest in all of it. And I can't offer him another deal. We offered him more money, I think, than... Okay, well, we offered him more money than everybody except for the Grizzlies. So, we'll hedge our bets on... Oh, wait. I'm sitting here in free agency, and I didn't even spin the wheel for Michael Porter Jr., whether or not we could go after him. But we're going to retcon that and say that I landed on yes for this year. Anyway, we do also need to look at bringing in a backup center. So... Olivier Maxence Prosper would have been nice because he's a great shooter. Oh, Jalen J-Dub is here? The other J-Dub is here? Oh, I would happily bring J-Dub in on a long-term contract as a backup off the bench. So, we now have a couple offers out. J-Dub is going to accept that offer. And I think Michael Porter Jr. goes to the Grizzlies. Oh. Peyton Watson's still here. So I can bring him back. I think, yeah. I mean... Yeah, we bring back Peyton Watson. I think Peyton Watson's got a lot of potential still. We just have to let him play. And then, yeah, we hold out on that. Peyton Watson is going to sign his deal. And then we just wait for Brandon Miller to get a deal that we can match. And with that, we've finished our free agency period, and we're in good shape. We've got a roster that we can afford pretty easily, and I feel like once Darius Acuff takes his step up, once Axel Lindenberg takes his step up, and Peyton Watson maybe develops a little bit with a new, better training facility, we see the best of this team. So let's go ahead and hit player progression. And Brandon Miller got worse. I don't know how that happens, but big steps up for Darius Acuff and Yaxel Lendeberg. Benedict Mathurin takes a step up. Peyton Watson gets a little bit better. Cam Johnson takes a little bit of a step down, but he is the only one to do so. So other than that, I feel like the squad is in very good shape to compete here this next year. I'm very excited for us to be able to step in and see what this team can do. Got to auto-generate our rookies and drop us off at the beginning of next season, where Katie apparently is going to retire at the end of it. So, a much better season, all things considered, and a good off-season with good development for the rookies that we brought in. And the Chaos Wheel was actually pretty agreeable with us today. I think we're in a really good position to make some noise in year 3. But that will be in the next episode. So if you did enjoy and like the video today, please subscribe, please like, and leave a comment if you enjoyed. I always appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out with me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.